Is law enforcement warming up to the idea of arming citizens?
But, you know what? Maybe we ought to have more concealed weapons because maybe the bad guys might be a little more careful.
But Los Angeles Sheriff Baca has held office for 6 years, and he's still holding firm on limiting concealed weapon permits in Los Angeles County.
Well, the Sheriff's Department of Los Angeles County will issue concealed weapons permits to individuals who have been victims of a violent crime. We also issue them to retired FBI agents and police officers, along with judges who are currently serving on the bench and other public officials who have been threatened. Our total number of permits is under 500, and I think that that's a reasonable figure.
And Los Angeles Police Chief William Bratton agrees.
We, by and large, issue very few concealed weapon permits.
But during our interviews with the various candidates running for LA County Sheriff, we found a surprising support for issuing more concealed carry permits. Here's Glendale Police Lieutenant Don Meredith.
As far as the concealed weapon permit, I'm not opposed to people being administered permits under the right circumstances. I basically have what's called the Orange County model, and that is if you have an articulable reason, you're of good moral character, no criminal history, no drug history, haven't created disturbances in the county, you pass a background check, and you're going to have to pass a safety course. And this training courses also include civil liability, when you can use a firearm, when not to use a firearm. Well, more importantly, it's also going to have to include a class on understanding that we don't want you posing a risk to law enforcement officers or being the victim of law enforcement officers because of mistaken identity.
LAPD Chief Bratton brings his East Coast philosophy to Los Angeles.
I'm a strong gun control advocate. Not gun elimination, but rather control, licensing, regulation of the firearms.
We asked Sheriff Baca if he would issue a permit to full disclosure. Here's what he had to say.
Well, in the example of a Leslie Dutton, who's an interviewer of a very popular interview program, and going into a dangerous area, I would say take someone with you. You would not be eligible for a gun permit.
LA Sheriff Captain Ray Leyva disagrees with his boss.
I don't see a problem with providing citizens the ability to defend themselves and the residents of LA County, and helping us in law enforcement do that job.
Chief Bratton wants to increase the penalty for those who can't get a permit and still insist on carrying a weapon.
That it's a misdemeanor to be found carrying a firearm illegally. I think that should be moved up to a felony because we have too many people that are found to have weapons that they should not have on their person.
LA Sheriff Sergeant Paul Jernigan was very passionate in his support for arming private citizens.
I believe it's extremely important, if not necessary, that our public is able to protect itself in dire crisis. The 1992 riots of Los Angeles are a perfectly good example of that crisis. We in law enforcement were totally overwhelmed by the gang members and the criminal element that lives in LA County. We could not go out and help people the way we help people this very moment. Because of that, the public had to defend themselves for about 24 hours to a week.
So I think the people that like guns would like the general public to believe that somehow an armed society is a safer society. I don't think so.
I worked in the areas where the riots were taking place, fighting these people that were doing the rioting. The citizens who had guns were not robbed, and their businesses did not burn because they properly defended themselves with that right that is part of our Constitution.
I think what we have here is a stringent policy that says you have to be a victim of a violent offense. You have to have a status such as a judge or an ex-FBI agent that was involved in some serious investigations where others who you've put in jail might be looking to find you and stalk you and harm you. There are people who have exposure in certain businesses that require them to carry large amounts of money privately and have been victimized as individual classes rather than as individuals. And we will consider giving them permits. But we don't give them out very much.
Here, we vigorously control who gets firearms in the city.
From his experience, retired LA Sheriff's Captain Ken Massey doesn't think armed citizens are a problem for law enforcement.
I have not found in my 35-year career in law enforcement that the typical citizen, the average citizen who by the Constitution has the right to keep and bear arms, I don't find those people doing bad things with their guns. They're not going out killing people. They're not going out robbing people. They're not hurting anybody else.
We need to focus on the abuse of guns, the violation of the gun laws. We don't need to make more gun laws. We don't need to keep good law-abiding citizens from having guns or that right to protect themselves.
Arizona Sheriff Joe Arpaio is famous for his Wild West approach to concealed carry permits.
You know what? Maybe we ought to have more concealed weapons because maybe the bad guys might be a little more careful. Maybe a little more careful, they're going to get popped when they try to rob an old lady or somebody else. They're robbing everybody. It's violence out there. I don't care what other people say. We live in a violent society, even in this area, in Phoenix and Maricopa County.
In fact, he's taking an extraordinary new tactic in fighting crime in his county. He wants more guns on the street.
I haven't released it yet, but I'm going to arm all my deputies off duty. I'm putting an order out. Every deputy will carry a gun off duty, and I expect them to enforce the law off duty when they see a crime. Very few police departments will order their personnel to carry guns. I'm going to do it. I'll have an extra force out there, and I expect my deputies to take action. We have violence in this city, murders all over the place, serial killers, so I'm putting my force out 24 hours a day.
And so the debate continues. Does arming citizens help reduce crime? We posed this question to Orange County Sheriff Mike Carona, who has been issuing record numbers of concealed weapon permits to Orange County citizens. What has been the effect, we asked him. Has arming citizens reduced crime in his county?
Well, I don't know. That's one of those tough things to be able to develop a cause and effect. I can tell you that we have 5 times more CCW permits in Orange County than before I took office. But I don't know if that's driving the crime rate down, or if it's the citizens, or if it's great law enforcement, or changing the economy. I really can't identify that specifically. I do know, though, California should be a right to carry state. And if California were a right to carry state like 32 or 33 other states across this country were, you take the politics out of the issuance of concealed weapons permits, and you would allow law-abiding citizens who are willing to take the responsibility on themselves and get the training to carry concealed weapons. And as Dr. Lott said in his book, More Guns, Less Crime, there may be something to that. I am not an academician like Dr. Lott, and again, I haven't done a study on it, but just an advocate for support of the Second Amendment.
We want to know what you, the viewers, think. Please respond to our survey. Does arming citizens reduce crime, yes or no? Are there more incidents of gun violence when more people are carrying guns, yes or no? And should there be a national carry permit that would be recognized in all 50 states, yes or no? Please respond to our survey and leave your comments below. Thank you.